Hello, and welcome back to another episode of We Are Meant for More. Today, I have the pleasure and the honor of bringing you a very exciting and interesting guest, Nada Harb. Welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited. This is really interesting what you do. It's fascinating, and I know people are going to benefit and learn so much. I'm going to just read from your bio a little bit to tell the audience exactly who you are and what you do.
Sure.
I think it's unique and it's so interesting. I just have to put my glasses on. All right. So, Nada is a renowned spiritual coach and founder of the Divine Great Spirit Ascension Academy, where you help individuals deepen their spiritual embodiment, rise within their unique powers, and master their ascension journey. We're going to dive all into this. But you have 15 years of experience and specialize in guiding people along the path of enlightenment, helping them awaken to their true potential and live in alignment with divine energies. You're also the creator of the Conscious Couples, a program designed to create soulful intimacy and deeper love connections. And we'll also dive into how you got started on this journey because that's fascinating too. So tell us a little bit about you, and I'm super curious how you would define an ascension journey and divine energies. But tell us
Yeah,
about you and this.
absolutely. I've come to realize in life that our life journey is really about our relationship with God. And the way we show up for ourselves is the way we show up for God. And the way we show up for every moment is the way we show up for everything in life. And when I was growing up, I didn't grow up with one specific religion. So I'm not talking about a religious God here. I'm talking about the one God. There is only one God. But when I was growing up, I was lucky to be born in a home that had many religions. So we had Christianity, we had Islam, we had, Jewish religion, we had Hindus, Buddhists, and we had a lot of atheists. So I grew up celebrating everything. And there was no, because a lot of people tend to be very protective over their religion. So I grew up without that because everything was welcome and everything was embraced and everything was celebrated. And when I was 14 years old, I was in a like a sand dune car race. I used to live in Dubai, it's in the desert. And I was sitting in the back of the Wrangler, and the Wrangler had no sunroof, so it was like a convertible. And before I knew it, we had gotten into a car accident. And in that moment, I kind of like flew out of the car. And as I was flying out and floating in the air, I started to feel the most blissful, loving emotions in my body, like something that was forever expanding and something that felt so safe. And then I looked down because I realized I wasn't floating back down. I kept going up higher and higher. I looked down and I saw my body on the floor. And at the time I couldn't process, like, why am I here floating in the sky and why is my body on the floor? And I didn't really care because I was in such an amazing blissful state. I just was just like bathing in it. I was oozing into it. And I started seeing that everyone was crying and screaming over my body. They called the ambulance and everything was so chaotic down there. But I was looking around me and I realized that we are so held by the angelic realms. We are so held by God, and there's only love in the universe. There's nothing else. And then I saw the ambulance come, take my body, and I was like, oh my God, I need to go back there. So I just woke up in the hospital. I was getting stitches all over my head. Now, mind you, back then, there was no internet. I'm like an 80s chick. Like, there was no Google, there was no Yahoo. I couldn't search what I just experienced. So I had to like kind of figure things out on my own. So I started meditating without knowing that it was meditation. I was just sitting in silence with myself. I wanted to understand that blissful state. And that really was the catalyst to my path. And what I've come to know is that we are beings that really trust everything. And whatever we are trusting, we are going to experience in our life. So, for example, because God is very abundant, like the universe is very abundant. So, if somebody is trusting that on a subconscious emotional DNA level. So maybe not consciously, but within their psychology, like they're trusting that they're going to have a bad relationship, they're going to have an abundance of bad relationships. If they're trusting that they are worthy of financial prosperity, then they're going to have an abundance of financial prosperity because the universe is abundant. And that can go for illness, that can go for emotional anxiety, that can go, and it can go for anything. So that's really what catalyzed me into first and foremost start healing myself, because everybody has limitations within themselves. And then from there, helping others. And then today, in today's world, like today, I have a whole academy and I've helped thousands of people around the world.
Oh, this is fascinating. Thank you for sharing all that. How are you different from when that happened? What do you recall the differences in how you are living now versus the way you would think before that accident, having a near-death experience?
When we don't face our death, we're not really living, because people are either like people, or what I used to do, and what a lot of my clients do, is like we make every calculated decision to stay safe, whether it's joining a new relationship, or, starting a new business, or traveling. Like we always make calculated decisions, like what is the safest thing for me? But then that ends up keeping us in our comfort zone, because the magic, the miracles, like God's flow of our life happens when we're not in charge, when we're not in control, when we let go. And so when I faced my death, it's so much easier. And I take people through a process through meditation to actually just face their death, because we are all going to die. So why limit ourselves from really living to our fullest potential because of some fear that something might happen? Like when it happens, it's going to happen. And the thing is, everything happens in divine design. Like no one can accidentally die, right? So when we face our death, or we let our ego die. So when I faced my death, what happened is my ego died. And what happens is faith gets cultivated. And when we walk in faith, or when I started to walk in faith, life just becomes a different kind of flavor. There's so much love, there's so much joy, there's so much liberation that comes with that.
Mhm.
Because, for me, like God is the compass, God is the driver, and God is, the car, like God is everything. And from that state, you can just enjoy your life, and trust that everything's going to happen perfectly for you the way it's designed to, for your growth, and for your blessings.
Oh my gosh. So this is so interesting to me. So what would you say to the person, um because I completely relate to what you're saying in terms of we want to stay in our comfort zone because it's just that, it's comfortable, it feels like home, whether it's a pleasant place, a good place, a healthy place or not. We would like where it is because it's comfortable and it's easy. So to the person that we would want to walk in faith, but they just don't have the faith. They can't find it. They're stuck in this comfort zone that may not be so good for them, whether it's a relationship or a job or anything. How can somebody start that journey? And maybe it's the ascension journey, which I would love it if you dove into what that means to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question, because honestly, I am so passionate about helping people remember their true nature, and their true nature is divine perfection. There's nothing wrong with anybody, there's nothing broken in anybody. We're perfectly designed. And when we see our perfection, we fall in love with who we are. Like all the guilt, all the shame, all the self-criticism that people carry, just dissolves when we realize how incredible and majestic we actually are. cultivating faith isn't hard. It's actually harder walking 30 minutes on a treadmill, Like cultivating faith is probably the easiest thing a person can do. And it's simply by choosing to invoke God into everything. Like wake up in the morning and, before you even get out of bed, with your eyes still closed, just be like, God, thank you. Thank you. I get another day. Guide me today. Show me the way. And, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you're having your coffee, be like, God, thanks for this coffee. So, like, God isn't some like supreme being in the sky, God is all around, and God is within us, and God loves us so much. So it's like your best friend. So the more we communicate consciously, intentionally with God, the faith is naturally going to get restored, whatever a state a person is in. Everything that happens, like you're going into a work meeting, you're worried, just within yourself, be like, God, speak through me. God, be with me. God, show me the truth. Like just invoke God into everyday life. And with time, like a couple of days, maybe even instantly, the person will start to feel the presence of God, because God is everywhere. And just like the air is everywhere, right? So as much as I breathe right now, I'm not going to consume the air that's around you. You can breathe as much as you want to. But sometimes we don't take long, deep breaths to really feel the air. We're just breathing unconsciously, moving with our everyday life. So if we take a moment to breathe the air, we'll realize how nourishing it is. So if we take a moment and invoke God into every moment, we'll start to realize that God is everywhere and God is actually driving the ship. So instead of us holding on for dear life, let go and let be and let God take charge. And then, faith gets cultivated that way.
Oh, I love that. So trusting in the process, trusting that everything's happening for us in perfect timing,
Abs-
divine timing.
Absolutely.
Ah, that's nice. That's comforting. And I actually keep getting goosebumps as you're talking. I'm like, oh, I love this.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
yes.
And the
What?
ascension journey, sorry, you just asked me, yeah, like the
Mhm.
ascension journey is really that journey. Like there are two realities on earth. A person can experience hell on earth, or a person can experience heaven on earth. And the ascension is something that we do within ourselves. So we move from a reality, like, so the hell on earth is when a person experiences, a lot of trauma, they welcome abuse into their life, they are separated from God, they're separated from their own divine essence, they live in like lack, like their abundance is lack, scarcity, all of that. But that really, like with God, miracles happen overnight. Like in an instant, God can create anything and everything. So when a person's living that way and they're holding on to that identity that they've formulated for themselves, they're always going to experience a rough, frustrating, painful life. And then when we embrace and invoke and just welcome God into everything, we start to transition. We start to naturally heal. We start to naturally make the most loving choices for ourselves, whether they're with our food nourishment or our relationships or our business or whatever it may be, because we start to respect who we are at a very deep level. And then we transition into heaven on earth, where we realize that actually everything is in abundance. Everything is just perfect as it is. And like you said, everything is happening in divine order, in divine design. And we just ride that wave in full faith with God. So that is what the ascension looks like within a person.
And that feels nice. That's so comforting to know that you don't have to force or control everything.
Yeah. Actually, the more we control, the more we're creating damage. So imagine like holding your breath. You're controlling your breath. You know? Like when we let go, there's a thin line between taking charge and being in control. We don't want to be in control, but we do want to take charge. That means we want to show up for ourselves. Because
Mhm.
imagine like your parent drops you off at a playground, and then you go and sit behind the wall and do nothing, then you're not really enjoying the playground experience. So when God created a person and they sent them to earth, this is our playground. This is our amusement park. This is where we get to have fun and experience physicality, right? So we got to show up for it. You want to get on all the rides, you want to enjoy all the experiences of the park. So that's taking charge of your life. But at the same time, when you're on a roller coaster, you let go. You're going to have moments where you're so excited. You're going to have moments where you're scared and you're like, oh my God, this roller coaster is moving so fast. You're going to have moments where you're thinking, what am I thinking getting on this roller coaster, right? But then when you get off the roller coaster, the first thing people think is like, oh, that was so much fun. I should go get on that again. So that's letting go of control. Like the roller coaster is going to happen. You know, it's going to happen whether we want, like if anything's going to show up differently in our life, it would have already. Like God makes no mistakes. So let's just enjoy the ride. You know, get on the roller coaster, feel all your emotions, don't suppress them, you know, be present with how you feel and just focus on the journey.
Oh my gosh, there's so much in that you just said is so so much to talk about. When you were mentioning about sometimes the bliss after death versus hell on earth, or so I was actually just having this conversation the other day with someone. The person was saying, I don't know what goes on after we die. I'm not convinced there's something better than this. That worries me. And I remember saying, well, what if here is the hell, and when you die you go to this blissful place? But what you're saying is it's both. It can be blissful here and heaven on earth.
Absolutely.
And when your soul maybe leaves your body, it's bliss there as well.
Like when our soul lead, like absolutely, like heaven and hell can happen here, and they're dictated by our relationship with God, and they're dictated by our emotional state. So
Mhm.
everything we just talked about. But what I've understood is that when people die, we actually transition to a different realm. So either we reincarnate as humans, or we move to a different realm. Maybe we become angels, maybe we become fairies. I don't know, you know, everybody will have their own soul journey. It's kind of like if you go to school and you're in grade 6 and then you pass grade 6, you're going to move on to grade 7. But if you fail grade 6, you're going to repeat it, right? So sometimes people can have the same human experience just in a different body by reincarnating because they had to repeat grade 6, they didn't get the lessons,
Oh,
or they move on.
yes. This is fascinating. So, I know you have different modalities that you use to work with your clients and take them through this ascension journey. What are some of the modalities you used? And you mentioned connecting with divine energies. What does that look like, that whole process?
Yeah, you know, we have so many different courses based on what people need, based on where they're at on their journey. So if somebody is like in the beginning of the journey, so they're suppressed, they don't know their worth, they don't know that, you know, they can work with the universe, that there are tools that they can use to heal their inner child and the trauma that's stored within their DNA. You know, we have a course on that called the initiation. So it initiates somebody into their next level. And if somebody's already gone through their healing journey, I think everybody should become a healer themselves, because that's a form of mastery, like having your own tools. Like it's very
Mhm.
different when you always eat at restaurants, but if you also know how to cook, you take
Mhm.
charge, right? So we have a course that teaches people how to become healers for themselves and others. And then, you know, so that would be like initial levels. And then we have a course for people that want to take it to the next level, like if they want to live in their enlightened state. Because a lot of people think that enlightenment is for some special guru that meditated over the mountain for like 25 years, right?
Right.
Yeah, but that guru just had the realization that he or she is already enlightened. Like we are already enlightened beings. Like with God, you're illuminated right now. There's no future tense. So that course, enlightenment, takes people through the process of awakening and embracing their enlightened state right here, right now. Like there's not a future tense. So those are like the main ones. But then we go deeper, like there's so many things in my portfolio. Like I believe that women are very powerful beings that have really forgotten their power, and their power lies in their womb, and our womb has a lot of wisdom to share with us, kind of like when someone's connected to their intuition talks to them, right? So I have a whole course on teaching women how to remember their womb wisdom, how to reconnect with their feminine energy, and like really rise into the priestess that they are. And then that's where the conscious couples comes in, right? Because my partner
Mhm.
teaches men on how to awaken their full divine masculinity. So, not like the distorted masculinity that we see on the planet, where people are just like, there's a tendency for men to welcome abuse towards women or to welcome authority over another. So, we combined our knowledge and we teach the path of conscious couples. How do couples have a relationship that's soul based and not survival based? So there's a whole
Mm.
portfolio based on where the person is at and what they actually need for their next level of evolution.
Yeah. What does enlightenment mean to you? What does that look like?
Enlightenment is just realizing that you're a divine soul. And it's not even knowing or believing, it's becoming. It's like you becoming the divine soul that you are.
Mm. I hope people are hearing this because it's so comforting to know that it's all within you already. And it's like detaching from the need for a specific outcome and just allowing it to unfold in the divine way.
And I love that you're saying that. Like today in the morning, I work with a lot of people through mentorships. Like, we work 3, 6 months together. So I actually like take them through the whole journey. I
Mhm.
was talking to my client today in the morning and she was stuck with something. And I realized that the reason why, like it hit me while I was talking to her, like the reason why a lot of people don't realize how divine they are, and they don't realize how incredible they are, and then they radiate that energy so they can manifest or bring in or call in that frequency into their life, is because they don't know their worth. And a lot of people focus on their worth externally. Like if somebody calls them beautiful, oh, now I'm valuable. If they bought a new dress, oh, now I'm special. If I got a promotion at work, oh, now I'm important. So everything is external.
Mhm.
So I gave her a challenge that I actually did a long time ago without knowing I was doing that, because things just happen naturally with me. And the challenge was to let go of all external validation. And that means, no shopping for a month, no needing other people to validate for a month. Like, don't get the outside world to tell you your value, right? And I took her through that exercise. And that's when we realize we don't need anything to tell us we're valuable. Because, when somebody really wants to get to know themselves, they need to quiet their mind. They need to go into meditation, right? So if somebody needs to know their worth, they need to stop the external, what's the word? Like the Disneyland that's happening around us with consumerism. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, as you're saying that about that challenge, instantly I got flooded with a lot of the things that I do that are looking for that external validation. But even if it's like your hair or something, dyeing your roots, or in the past it would have been degrees and I needed another degree and then I'll be valuable. Then I'll be
You
valuable.
realize, right?
Yes.
And once we stop it, honestly, it's like when somebody eats so much shit, excuse my language,
Oh, it's good.
and then they do a detox. In the beginning, it's going to be so uncomfortable the first 3 days. Like, why am I on this juicing detox? I want to go eat my burger. But then they start to feel nourishment. They start to feel really good about themselves. And, the detox doesn't become a detox, it becomes a new lifestyle of self love. So when we detox ourselves from external validation, we realize our true worth. And I went through that. Like I told you before the call, like I used to straighten my hair all the freaking time, because in my culture, it's like if your hair is done nicely, then, and nicely is blow dried, then, you're pretty. And I was like, no, I'm going to go with what God created, which is my curls. And then I learned that actually I get more compliments now, even though it means less to me now. Like, wow, your hair is so wild, your hair is so curly, your hair, because I've embraced my natural state. I even went through like a detox of makeup because I never got on a meeting or anything without makeup. And I was like, you know what? A whole month, I'm not gonna wear makeup no matter what. Even if I have to go to a wedding, I'm not gonna wear makeup. I want to love myself as I am. And it was challenging. It wasn't easy, especially if I have meetings or calls. But then I broke through the barrier of needing to cover my face to feel good about myself. Now I do it with pleasure and not to escape something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What is the first thing? So, to the listeners right now that are intrigued by all of this, because it all is so interesting and fascinating, to the listener that would like to get started on this journey, what's one thing that they could start with? And the challenge sounds interesting. I'm going to consider that. Um, what is one other thing that somebody could do to start on this ascension journey?
Yeah, like if somebody just wants to start, like wherever they are, even if they're advanced people listening to this, I'm going to share a technique that is life-changing, okay? And I'm not going to go into courses and stuff because if people want them, they know how to find me. But I'm going to share with you something that one of my spirit guides taught me, and I've been doing it for years, and it's so simple, it's so small, and it's so big at the same time.
I love
So
it.
so let's go through the exercise right now, you and I, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Let's
so
do
just
it.
close your eyes or keep them open. Just take a deep breath in and then just exhale with your mouth open, like make a sound.
Ooh.
Let's do another one. So important to relax our jaw, relax our throat, relax our shoulders. And just imagine like a beautiful diamond light just showering you from the universe, kind of like you're under a waterfall. And you just start feeling it. You can feel its warmth and it's just showering you. And as you feel that, bring all your attention to your mind and tell your mind, you are so valuable. And you'll notice that your mind instantly begins to relax. And as it relaxes, can just connect to your body. Bring all your awareness into every cell of your body. And just tell your body, you're safe. And you'll notice as you say that your body drops, it like begins to relax. As you bring all your awareness to your heart, just bring all your energy to your heart and tell your heart, I trust you. And you'll notice that your heart instantly begins to open up. It begins to expand. And as you do that, just feel your heart beating, beating with maybe the energy of the earth as one heartbeat, just with your intention. And then, those two heartbeats, just connect them to the heartbeat of the universe. Now there's three hearts beating as one. But just with your intention, keep it simple. And maybe place your right hand on your heart and just say, God, thank you for my life. Today I surrender my will to yours. Show me the way. And whenever you're ready, Karen, just open your eyes.
Mm.
How did that feel for you?
Amazing. First of all, I have goosebumps, which keeps happening in this conversation. I feel very peaceful.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you felt your mind relax, you felt your
Mhm.
body relax and your heart open. Like our egos with our mind, it's constantly thinking, do this, do that. And whenever somebody's impulsive, like they overeat, they're emotional eaters, they do anything that makes them escape their life. It's only because their body doesn't feel safe. So tell your body every day, like it's literally 90 seconds, makes a big difference.
Mhm.
So this is why I would recommend for people.
Yeah. Very helpful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you connect with you said you mentioned about your spirit guides, so I know you connect with the spirit guides and deceased loved ones, or do you communicate that way as well?
I do. I speak to a lot of spirit guides. I
Mm,
have had dead people visit me, like my grandma. She gave me a message I had to give to somebody. Somebody that I know died. I didn't even know they died. I was in the hotel and I saw them energetically, and they gave me a message, and then I found out they were dead, and I had to tell his wife. So stuff like that happens, but mainly I don't connect with dead people unless they want to give me a message.
mhm.
But I do speak to angels very often. I do speak to Jesus very often, Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene as well. God is my number one guide and source in life. So that's really what happens.
This has been really, really helpful. Um, Are there any final pieces of information or anything you would like to share with the audience? And sure, certainly, all your contact information will all be in the show notes for people to find you. But please share any parting words and how best for people to find you.
Yeah, right before I got on this podcast, I read a quote and it blew me away. So I'd love to share that as my last piece of information.
Yeah.
And I hope it blows you away as much as it blew me away. And the quote goes like this, like, don't tell your God how big your storm is. Look at your storm and tell your storm how big your God is. And when I read it, it was like, "Pfft, yes.
Yes.
So whatever we're experiencing, just remember your God, like God is grand. God is magnificent and everything is possible with an instant. Just ask. Ask and you shall receive, right? And if people want to find me, it's really simple. Just head to divinegreatspirit.com. And then when you get to the website, it navigates itself. You can, get on a free consultation with me. You can find me on Instagram there. You can join our subscription list, like our email list. You can get all our freebies. We have a lot of freebies from ebooks, meditations, master classes. Check out our courses, like whatever people feel drawn to. So it's divinegreatspirit.com.
Mhm. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. This has been fascinating, profound, and just, I really enjoyed it. I know everybody else will as well.
Yeah, Karen, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for giving me the space and the platform to share what I'm truly passionate about.
Yes, I can tell. I can feel that. And it's a really powerful episode.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And to the listeners, please, if this resonates with you or you're curious about what your journey could look like, please reach out to Nada and or please share this episode with anyone you think might benefit from it. And thank you for being here for another episode of We Are Meant for More. Thank you. See you next week.